Let's see here. Craig, you were very frustrated with this. I saw this story that Ross Dellinger, NCAA moving closer to an immediate expansion of the signing class limit. What in the world? We have now the transfer portal, which is open free agency. We have the NIL, where people get paid now, and probably they earned that a long time ago. And we had that mulligan year because of COVID. It seems like there's almost been 2 of those, and now they're going to allow teams for 1 year to have 32, perhaps, in a signing class, because to protect the teams from the transfer portal, that they lose 7 players on average per team.
You know, I understand it, but I think this is just something that, I almost feel like they're just tinkering with stuff to tinker with stuff. Am I the only one that feels that way? Like, there's always a change. Like, every couple of weeks, it seems like there's some rule being tweaked or some new thing. I mean, I get it, but I don't know. I just see this. I think the person this hurts the most is the schools that are in the middle, like the TCUs and the Baylors. Because if you're one of these big schools, we can sign even more players now. Mm-hmm. So now 4 stars or players who may typically land at a Texas Tech or end up at a Minnesota rather than an Ohio State or a Texas, they're going to end up at Ohio State and Texas again. And then, yeah, of course, like if they don't, they got to make their way or they're going to be out of there. But that's just more people in the transfer portal. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know what's wrong with the signing limit. I mean, everybody got an extra year. Now you're wanting to throw more players into the mix. And like, this is only going to benefit the big schools initially. And then it will ultimately benefit the smaller schools like the SMUs, who are already thriving off of the transfer portal. I mean, they're going to be in that transfer portal in a major way every single year. Now they're going to have even more options, most likely. And I'm sure there's a very simple way of why this is a good idea and everything, but I don't know. I don't know. I feel like there wasn't really anything wrong with the signing class limits as it was. 31. That's just a lot of players, man. Like that's 300 players in the Big 12 alone.
That is over a third of your roster that you could add. Yeah.
And so now Ohio State's going to sign 5 extra guys or 7 extra guys or 8 extra guys that otherwise would have been at another school playing earlier, most likely. And I get it, like competition and all of that. Somebody will slip through the cracks and be like number 32 that signed that ends up being a top 10 player for you. But at the same time, I just think it's going to even more backload that transfer portal because you're going to have more guys that aren't seeing the field early on.
Well, and the other thing that's going to happen, you mentioned the big schools. Well, Alabama's they're going to have 7 transfers a year easily. Guys who realize that, Nick Saban's not for them and they're not going to make it at Alabama and that's it. Or guys that, Nick Saban says, you should go in the portal. So that means that's more like now they have 32 people this year. I'm hoping this isn't one of those. This is a 1-year only thing. And then after this, because it worked out so well before and the realities of the transfer portal and yada, yada, yada. And we have 32 people in the signing class every year.
Yeah, it just seemed like Craig said, it's like they tinker with it. This is good news. I think now that college athletes pretty much, after probably being, the word is not abused, but surely not getting perhaps what they deserved or earned, I think they're getting pretty much everything you could imagine. Next thing you know, you get a free car, and that's part of an NIL deal. Or, by the way, we're also going to pay for your apartment complex or wherever you live, and we'll put down the down payment on a house next to the campus. I'm never against someone getting whatever they can get. I'm never against that. But it's like there's already been almost what seems to me 2 years of mulligans on scholarships.
There has been. There absolutely has been. Yeah. There's been no consequence, and not that there should be a consequence because it's not like the players can do anything about that. But, yeah, they've just like, okay, that's fair game now. Okay, that's fair game now. Okay, that's fair game now. Okay, that's – like, what have they said no to? Like, what rule has come across the table where they're like, no, other than just tapping the brakes on the playoffs? Now, here's what I need to know what the actual rule is going to be. Well, because if it's simply you can sign 35 guys, I hate that rule. Now, if it's the other option that has been thrown out there of if you lose 5 players to the portal, that's 5 more scholarships you can sign, that makes a lot more sense. They go that direction, I can be far more understanding of that, although you're not penalizing teams who have multiple players going to the transfer portal. So, like, if you're a bad coach, and, okay, like, let's just say your coach is not great with your players or whatever, and you have a bunch of dudes that go to the transfer portal year after year after year, you just keep grabbing scholarships. There should be some consequence for not doing your job, for not landing the guys initially. You should have a couple of mulligans, but if you lose 15 players to the transfer portal like we've seen some schools do, then there's a much bigger problem than replacing your scholarships if you're losing that many. You know what I mean? Now, if it's just automatically everybody gets 25, 35, whatever, then I don't like that because I don't see how that benefits anybody but the bigger schools.
What if you're a school that only loses 2? And
you get 2 scholarships.
You get just 2? You're not going to get?
No, you get 2 scholarships back if they go that way.
You get up to 7. So if you got 15, like, it's not if you lose 15, you get 15. You get up to 7. Right. So at least there's some sort of cap
maybe
on it.
Matt can give us some insight on that and when we have him on today at 4:20. We have Ryan Abraham who's going to join us in the next segment, covers USC like a blanket on the day after the firing of their head coach, Clay Helton.
I just think it further motivates guys to want to transfer, you know, and, maybe, I don't know. I'm probably making a mountain out of a molehill here because there does need to be some recouping of scholarships. But, yeah, I'm just wondering what's like going to be the thing that they finally say, like, no, we're not going to make that change because it's been nothing but change for the last 2 years. So maybe this is a good one, but it's like, man, like, are we going to settle in somewhere?
My biggest question would be, out of 2022 and into 2023, what are we looking at now? Like, what is it? Yeah. You know, because 2023 would be post-COVID mulligan years and all that and these transfer things. So 2023, what are we realistically looking at? 25 again? Or does something happen in the next 2 years where they're like, we know it's not going to be 32, but what if it was 29?
Yeah, I know that just because it's always been that way, it's not always means it was right. But college football kind of survived a long, long time with a lot of the rules that even some of them antiquated. But the scholarship thing, is that really going to help, let's say, Memphis? Does this help, or is that just another way to feed the blue bloods? The blue bloods, and that's kind of, there's got to be a reason behind it. We'll ask Mac about it.
Yeah.
And if it feeds everybody, good. Okay, that's fine, as long as it's equal opportunity feeding.
Yeah, because it is not finalized. It is like, hey, they might go the compromise route. They might go the one angle of like, hey, you just automatically get this number no matter what. Or they might go the compromise of you get up to 7, that cap or whatever. So, yeah, that's
kind of like the NFL with losing free agents. You get extra,
hey, let's be more like the NFL, right? Everything they're doing is being more like the NFL, which I don't know that I'm necessarily a fan of. But, like I said, not trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. It's just like, oh, here's more change and just trying to wrap your head around it.
Cincy Chili, can we start now by saying Luke Fickell is not